Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rican Muslim. Your host, Rican Muslim. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. So, Tate is back in the States, making the rounds. The PVD podcast, well-known Islamophobic podcast. He talks a little bit about Israel influence in America. People are saying now he's an agent of Israel. All this other stuff on it based on this video. So, I figured I will see what's really all about this video that makes people so triggered.
So Trump has been very pro-Israel, and so he's been very pro-Bibi.
Correct.
And matter-of-factly, Tate. So do you think he's wrong on that, being so supportive of Israel?
You know, this whole Jewish question thing is actually an interesting one. I'm going to talk about this.
I like how he does the deflection, where he this is a tactic he uses to kind of gather his thoughts, deflect, and kind of, this is what he does to kind of change or not really answer the question while giving an answer. So let's see.
Get me in more trouble. How much trouble am I in? Let me count it.
80%. The organs are coming for you, Tate.
Fucked. Right. T, we're going to jail. Pack a bag.
Tristan.
Right. Pack a bag. Right. So this, it's actually kind of frustrating for me because when I came out of jail, I did Piers Morgan, and I told Piers that what was happening in Gaza was a massacre. And this was on like October 9th, like 2 days after.
You said genocide.
Genocide. I said it was unfair what was happening.
Why would he? It's a genocide. I guess now he doesn't want to say it's a genocide anymore. It's weird.
This was before it became like widespread. This was only a couple days after. And I was told not to say that. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. But that's what I believed, so I said it at the time. And there's a lot of people online who are fervently anti-Jew and are very anti-Semitic. And I know who these people are. And you know these people are, a lot of them. Sometimes,
Kanye West.
Yeah, well, no, sometimes they have a point of view, and sometimes they just go way too far with it. So I think this whole argument is kind of two-pronged. The first prong is that there are people in the world who blame the Jews for absolutely everything, and that is pathetic. And these people think that they worked out the secret of the world, and they're based, and they blame Jewish people for everything. They're like, oh, but that's the Jews. What is? Race mixing is the Jews. Maybe they're attacking me for supporting race mixing.
I've never, ever heard this argument before that race mixing is to Jews. That has never been. I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories, but Jews and so on. I have never once heard this. I'd like to show you where that comes from.
Mixing. My dad is black. My mother is white. Why do you think the Israelis called me and told me to say this? It's my upbringing. Or they'll say, oh, but you can't get a girlfriend because the girls have all been subverted by the media. That's the Jews. How did the Jews keep you out the gym? Because your arms are skinny, bro.
We know there's a lot of influence when it comes to Kron sites or corn. I don't want to say the word. And, then the hub, now they have a rabbi there, OF, giving money to people like Ben Shapiro. We know they have a long track record, things like this. So, now you're saying that's not the case?
How did the Jews stop you from being a man they want to fuck? Explain that to me. They go so far with it. And if you try and point this out, you're instantly a Mossad agent. Even I get this. After defending Palestine and risking my life, because they could have locked me back up and I was told not to, they're still not happy with me because I don't go far enough with blaming the rain on the Jews. It rained outside. You didn't have an umbrella. The Jews did it. So there's the psycho side of it. Mm-hmm. But as a rational person who likes to see both sides of the argument, I would also argue it is interesting that it seems the only influence over the American government that we're not scared about or we don't measure is the Israeli influence of the American government. It seems they do have some control over the American government.
Some?
They do lobby heavily, and nobody talks about it in a negative way. Whereas if the Chinese do it or the Russian do it, there seems to be a big problem. It doesn't seem to be measured when Israel does it, and nobody seems to be concerned by it. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, you can get someone on more qualified than me to discuss. There's people more qualified than me. I would argue as a rational, intelligent individual that the American government should be pertinently aware of all influences that are put on it. Shouldn't you measure them? I'm not saying even stop them, but shouldn't you know? Because let me ask another question. This is a thought experiment. If you allow a nation to influence your nation and you allow it to happen unchecked, who's influencing the influencer? I don't know this at all. This is off the top of my head. Who says Israel's not being influenced by China, Russia, whoever. What I'm saying is they can be a conduit if you allow it to be unchecked. So I understand that Israel seems to be the only country that can influence American politics without being checked. I understand that. I understand that's strange. I agree that should be measured. That's true. However, to argue that the Jews are the only reason why you're a little bitch hiding in your house at home, that's also bullshit. There's definitely a lot of irrationality on both sides. That's what I would say about that whole subject. And I think that people should be more rational and approach it rationally.
What? I mean, he kind of touched base just a little bit. I don't think he really wanted to say anything that's, he didn't want to pinpoint too many things on it, kind of left it very vague and open-ended on there. For instance, the while we're in the Middle East, the different wars we've been to, the links to Israel and so on, things that have already been measured. People who are, as you say, smarter than he is, have already kind of shown on there. And kind of pinpoint other things like China and Russia doing the whole bait. Maybe they're influencing Israel. Like, it's like he doesn't want to no longer wants to threat, too deep. He just wants to kind of stay in a very neutral, very he doesn't want to be. He wants to be both sides of it. That's what he said at the time. At the time, I believe. At the time, like, so you don't think there's still a massacre going on? It's so something about the whole thing. Something has changed about it, where he no longer wants to be definitive anymore on there. But the whole thing that he's been an Assad agent, I don't think he is. He's not an agent of anything. He's afraid to be of any side. If he was an Assad agent, I will believe he would strictly say, redact everything and go straight into Israel. He would have just stated that, even though they're unchecked, it's a good thing, but he didn't. So I don't know where people are getting on this. I think people do want him to take a side, especially since he says he's a Muslim. He's part of the Ummah. But that's between him and Allah. Let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Next time.